Welcome back to our watercolor floral series for Mother's Day. We are painting watercolor postcards to give to that special lady in our life who, biologically or not, gives off all the mother vibes that we love and care for. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do my very favorite thing to paint, and just to give you a quick review of what we've already done. We did our metal bucket with our very pretty primary bouquet of colors and some shimmer, so you can kind of see that there. We did our Delft style vase with some peonies on the inside. We did our daisies in a basket, very loose, very fun, lots of doodling. And today we are going to do lavender, my favorite, my absolute favorite. And we'll do lavender in a, I don't know yet. I don't know what we're gonna do then. Let's see what happens. All right, so I'm gonna start with lavender. Now lavender has the wonderful quality of basically just having like long, thin branches and lots of like very similar shaped petals all heading in the same direction. So today we are going to be using my Kuretake palettes. We're gonna start with this very pale purpley color, and we're gonna add some more of these purpley colors as we move along, and maybe some blue as well. And then of course we're going to add some Stabilo pencil at the end, one of my signature styles that I love to add at the end of any piece that I'm working on. So let's just start here with some of these lavender. So lavender, today I'm going to be using my dagger brush. This is a 1/8 inch dagger. It is from Christy the Painter, or Christy Rice. Daggers are my favorite because they have this lovely little point on the end and kind of a rounded belly. It gives a lot of really lovely and pretty shapes. So we're going to keep this as small as I can go here. I'm going to just throw some of these little 1, 2, 3s up the page, give it a curl and a turn as I go. And generally these petals run in 4s and 3s. The larger, obviously, the closer to the base. Like that. And maybe what we'll do today is a clear vase. Maybe a clear ball brand type like vase, like that you would put maybe jam in. Let's kind of see how that goes. We'll make a few more of these little stems here. Lavender. I do love the smell. I can show you I actually have some dried lavender here. But you can see it's kind of like falling apart. It smells so good. The smell just lasts forever. Okay. And again, all of my petals are basically little teeny tiny strokes the size of my brush, and I'm pointing them upwards. And then maybe one here, like that. Now, as I'm working, I'm thinking about the size of this very specific vase that's gonna go with this. So what I might wanna do right now is just kind of sketch out that ball-shaped jar. Maybe it's a tiny one. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that I am putting this in a jar when I'm finished. I'm going to round this off a little bit more. I'm going to round this off a little bit more. It's looking a little lopsided. I just want to make sure that we're on the right track here, you know? Okay, so that's where our little clear watercolor vase is going to be. What you could also do here is you could throw ink down over the sketch and then paint over it. I'm just going to erase it right now. I'll go back in a little bit and paint that part. But I definitely wanted to see that as I was working, because I didn't want to lose sight of that and then have to paint in constant correction of what I did not think about when I was throwing these flowers down. Especially if the vase is going to be clear, That's pretty important as we work. I'm going to tuck this guy kind of back here behind this one. And then we'll do another one up here, like a neighboring one, very close. And you're going to see me add some color to these very light purples that we have here. And then we'll have one more maybe sticking out going this way. And then we'll start adding some more color to these little beauties. Okay. And this purple guy that's kind of behind this jar, that's okay. I'm probably gonna end up painting over him a little bit. I'm still seeing this looking a little too wobbly for me. Yeah, let's do a straight. That seems to make more sense. And then we'll pull this over that way. Sorry guys, I just want to make sure I'm doing this right, because if I don't fix it now as I'm working, I'm going to be very unhappy with myself if I don't keep this in mind now while I'm working. Okay. That looks a little bit better. And then maybe I'll stick one off to the side over here since I've kind of leaned the jar this way. We'll do a short one. Okay. Just like that. So we've kind of got that all set up there. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to erase this one more time. And then I'm going to start painting in this glass. Now, the deal here is you just generally want to work in a blue or gray kind of watercolor system here. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to kind of flip-flop between the two. I throw down, I'm not very good at working on palettes because they get so messy and then I have to clean them if I really want to make sure I'm hitting the spot with the colors. So I don't really do that very much. Not as much as I should, that's for sure. But what I do is I do throw the paint down and then I add water to it to make sure it's going in very lightly transparent. And then I'm going to let this dry and then start adding some grays and then some of those stems in there as well, because the stems will be coming through here. So let's get some gray in here as well. And because this is so transparent, it will be able to paint over it pretty easily with the greens. Like it'll be pretty easy to see. All right, so let's go ahead and try and track some of these green stems through here. I do want to dry this just a little bit. It doesn't need to be fully dry, but just a little bit so that if it does come in here and bleed, that's totally okay and normal. Okay. Not 100% dry, but dry enough. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of, I'm working back and forth here between daggers. I'm going to go ahead and grab a bit of this sap green. And so I've got the one that I started here. I'm going to go in from the top and then pull in some of those little purple petals with little tiny branches, pulling them back together again. That. All the way down to the brush or into the glass. And then I'm just going to pull this in like that all the way down until it gets in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and let it kind of fall into that glass. I'm going to do this again with all of them. I am going to be going over this with a glaze. A glaze is like a watered down version of it, so it'll soften some of these up. I might even actually add some water to soften these up in here anyways. One back here, just tucking behind, and then I do have another one back here as well. And then this one over here. This one's gonna come down that way, okay. So we've got our lavender. I'm gonna add some more purple to some of these leaves here. And we're just adding a darker shade. And it's not about adding more petals, it's just about adding different colors to some of the petals that already exist. And you'll notice I'm not doing every petal, only doing some. I do tend to lean on the right with adding color. Just adding a little bit of doodling to the top up here. Okay. So that feels pretty good. I might add some green leaves coming out of here as well. Just a few. I really think this color is turning out very nicely. So I'm just gonna throw a few of them in here. Maybe another one up here. That way. And then another one over this way. And another one right here. Okay. And then making sure that I bring those stems down in here as well. All right. So far so good. I'm gonna dry this and then I'm gonna really work on the jar because I do think the majority of the top is complete. Okay, so to finish up this jar, we're really gonna work on just some of the outline here of the jar and its glass. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating this like, kind of like this invisible line that sits inside the jar. And then I'm gonna add some water to it to blend it in a little bit and then spread it out going this way. I'm gonna get some blue for this too, to add those shadows kind of underneath the top of the jar. I'm gonna do it on this side too. And again, just adding water to it. And then down here, doing the same thing along the bottom. I like that. I'm also going to add some of these like glass jar line bits here. And then I'm going to shade in this back a little bit more intentionally, where the leaves and flowers are coming in, because they're kind of covering that up and giving that some shadow. I'm also going to add some blue in here, and this is where I'm going to kind of glaze it a little to give it the water effect. Just adding some blue and then moving it around a little bit, not too much, because I don't want to ruin all the stems that I put in there, right? Okay. And then just moving this down, making sure some of that blue is also on the bottom, like that. I'm gonna try and blend that out, because that little flower there is not where I want it to be. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna go in one more time with pencil, as I like to do, and just bring attention to some of the little bits and pieces. But I do think this looks lovely just the way it is. So you don't have to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and blow dry it, and then we'll pull out my Stabilo pencil, maybe add a few more bits, and maybe even some Caran d'Ache crayons. We'll see. Okay, that's pretty dry. This is still a little wet, so I'm gonna try not to touch that too much. I'm gonna sharpen up my Stabilo pencil. You can use any pencil you want. You can use ink. There's no rules here about that. I mean, to be fair, there's no real rules about anything. I just do what I like and what works for me and what makes me feel like I created something beautiful. And you should do the same. So I'm just outlining and bringing a bit more structure back to some of these bits and parts. Okay, so you can see the glass. Just going to bring attention to some of these parts here. Not too much, just a little bit. I might also add a bit of teeny tiny petal doodles to some of these guys. And I mean, you could leave what initially I put down perfectly well alone and not do any of this. But this just makes my heart happy. It feels fun. It's like my gift to myself when I'm done painting, to doodle. And then down in here, I'm just gonna add a bit of the crisscross, not too much, because I do like that blurred effect a lot. I don't want to overdo that. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is use these crayons to add a little bit of texture over the top. So I'm gonna add this a little bit to some of these lavender buds and florals, just a little bit of extra color. Like that. And then I have this blue. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit in here. Not too much, just enough that it looks intentionally textured, like that. I don't think I have a gray, so then I might just leave it that way, just the way that is. And then we're finished. We have our little Mother's Day lavender card or postcard or painting or whatever size you choose to make it as part of the 4th Mother's Day watercolor card series that we've been working on. So this is number 4 in the series. This is number 3, number 2, and number 1. I hope that you got so much out of this series. I know I certainly did. If you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to reach out to me. And you can either find me here on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. I love to live paint on TikTok and Instagram. And I will keep making tutorials for YouTube as well. So if you have any suggestions or ideas about what I should create or paint next, reach out and let me know. Thanks again. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And follow me on all those other platforms too. Happy Mother's Day to all of those mothers out there who biologically or just spiritually provide all the mothering vibes that we hope for people to have in their lives. See you later, guys.